So a few people coming on in. There we go. For those of us just joining us, go ahead and scan the QR code on the right-hand side and take that short survey. We're about to start. Great. Welcome, everyone. This is our senior success orientation tonight. Thank you for being here. We are very excited that you're here with us. We want to go over a few housekeeping items. So if you see the little link to the left there, you see that icon, that means there's a linked resource in our webinar for you tonight, okay? Your cameras and microphones are going to be turned off during our presentation. And please feel free to use the Q&A feature to ask us any questions. And we just kindly ask that you save some of your questions till the end of the presentation, okay? We'll be answering as we go. This presentation is one of many that is available to you through our YouTube channel. We have an archive of over 100 recorded presentations just like this one that are going to help you navigate your college planning process, okay? So as we begin here, okay, we're going to go, we're going to introduce ourselves. 3 of us are with you tonight. My name is Laura Josso, and I'm the College and Career Counselor over at San Clemente High School. And tonight also is Miss Linda Kang. She is our College and Career Counselor over at Cal Prep and Union. And we also have Miss Myra Luna, who is our College and Career Counselor at San Juan Hills High School. Okay, and we are all at our sites full time, and 3 of us offer bilingual services in Spanish. We are credentialed school counselors that are available to all of our students. We are experts in college admissions. We are data-driven. We talk to our students. We talk to our parents. We want to know what you all are expecting from us and what you are wanting, and what ways you want us to support your students. So one of the many ways we support our students is having one-on-one counseling appointments. We do this throughout the year. Right now, as you can imagine, we're busy and we are working with our seniors, but we see all of our students throughout the school year. We also support our schools and our district with college and career initiatives. We will go a little bit more into that as the presentation goes on. We also host free events, presentations throughout our school day, and workshops for all of our Capistrano Unified students. As I mentioned before, we have a website with the resource library and a webinar locker where you can access all of our presentations that, such as tonight, and other ones that we also present at our sites and at the district office as well. We are on campus, so support for our students. Most of us are in the College and Career Center. Some of us are near the library, but your students are able to see any one of us. On the screen, you will see every one of our schools has their own counselor, and our coordinator is Miss Erica Gardner. And so we are your college and career team. Okay, so I'm just going to go a little bit into what we're going to cover tonight. We want to talk to you a little bit about CCA and what college classes are offered throughout our Capo schools. We want to go over our college system overview, which means all of our colleges, state colleges in California. We want to go over application requirements. We want you to feel comfortable with the application process. We want you to know how to build a college list with your student, right? So, what is a good fit for my student, and how am I going to decipher that with them, right? You might have heard this term thrown around a little bit, CCGI or californiacolleges.edu. They are the same thing. It's a great platform that Capo Unified uses to connect with our students and also to help them with their career planning and college planning. It's a great platform. We'll go into that a little bit later. We're also going to go over applications and deadlines and make sure that you know when are our college applications due? What should you be focusing on right now? And we'll go throughout their senior year. Okay. We have some testing updates for you, so we'll make sure that we talk to you about that as well. And financial aid, we won't go too much in depth tonight because we do have financial aid workshops throughout this school year as well to make sure that you have specialized attention just with financial aid. And we'll also go into letters of recommendation. Not all colleges will require them, but the ones that do, will go into all of that. We'll also go into college essays. We'll go into do's and don'ts for college essays and into future workshops we have for that as well. And again, we're going to talk a little bit about the events and supports we'll have on campus for all of you. And we'll leave it open at the end for some Q&A. Okay. Okay, so we have College and Career Advantage, who also work very closely with all of us. We have career guidance specialists who are not able to be here tonight, but we have Autumn over at Aliso Miguel High School in Tesoro. We have Lynn Bell over at San Juan Hills with Miss Myra. We have Summer Yim at Capo Valley and Marissa Davison at Dana Hills and at San Clemente. So they also provide a great support for all of our students. They provide a lot of information about career technical education pathways at our sites, in Bell college classes that are available to our students, and also after school courses. They go into career exploration with our students, how to prep for a job interview, how to build your resume. And so we work in tandem with them as far as workshops and webinars go as well. And so this is your team at your schools. And they are also a great resource for all of our students. And so this is just their fall calendar for college at Capo. These are the in-bell classes, what they call the in-bell classes that are offered at all of across the district. But they also have after-school classes that are available, and these are all college classes. Almost all of them are A through G eligible classes. So that's something that's really important to note. And yeah, so right now we only have the fall. The spring semester courses will come out later on in the fall. We don't have an exact date, but we share that with our students as well, so that if they want to join another course in the springtime, they can do that as well. Okay. All right, so we're going to go into a little bit about our college system here in California. Okay, so we are very lucky in that we have a very large state school system. Okay, so we have the UC system, we have the Cal State University system, and we also have the community college system. So for the UC system, we have 9 campuses that are all over California, and they have a mix of graduate and undergraduate degrees. Okay. The UC system is a little bit more research focused, while the Cal State system is a little bit more applied skills or like hands-on focused. Okay. The CSUs, we have a lot more. We have 23 campuses across California, and now we have 3 designated polytechnic campuses, the last one being Humboldt, Cal Poly Humboldt now. They are designed for students to have local options to go to school. And the majority of their degrees are undergrad. They have undergraduate programs at the Cal State system. Okay. All in all, community college also, our community college system is wonderful because it is designed to feed into the UCs and the Cal States. Okay, so we have over 100 community colleges in California, and they have many certificate programs. There's a lot of benefits to attending community college. You save on the front end of college education, right? So the Promise program, I'm sure you all have heard of. It helps students to get those first 2 years of their education free. And they also have great transfer opportunities and a lot of resources on campus. Many students ask about the TAG program, which is the Transfer Admission Guarantee program. Not all UCs participate in the TAG program, but many of them do. And you have to maintain a certain GPA while you are in community college. and then they're guaranteed a spot into one of your dream schools. Okay, so community colleges are a great pathway. We also have the private universities across. We have over 100 across California. We have thousands of schools worldwide, and they typically are a little more expensive, but they also offer not at all times, but many times offer a little bit more institutional aid. Okay, so special scholarships specifically to those schools. They can have smaller class sizes, and they specialize in different areas. So depending on where your student wants to go, this is where that college planning and just kind of research it comes in handy, and that's why we love to use California colleges. We also have our trade schools, and an example of one of our trade schools is like UTI, Universal Technical Institute. They have an automotive program, and our students come to us and talk to us about trade schools often, and it's wonderful. And some are nonprofit, some are not, for-profit, but we always encourage them to look at all their options, right? So look at the options that you have. Look at all the options that you have to take some of these courses or these programs through your community college for free. Okay, so that's for the trade and technical schools. So all in all, we are a college-going district. Okay, so where do our students go after high school? We have 80% of our seniors go on to higher education. And this data is based on our class of 2023. So that is the most recent class. You might be first in your family to go to college, and we want to support you. So we have 24 of our high school students that were first generation college students. So 80% of them go on to higher education. 41% go to straight away to a four-year university. 39% will go to community college. So as you can see, that difference is not too big, right? So there is no better way of going to college. We just encourage our students that they choose the avenue that is best for them, right? And we are here to support all students. So we definitely we want to support all of our students. So as I continue on here, I want to go into a little bit more about the application requirements and what we need to do. So I'm going to bring this ping on for that portion of the presentation.
Good evening, everybody. So I just want to pause for a moment and just we recognize that we are having technical difficulties tonight. So I hear that if you are tuning in to us through a phone or an iPad, you are having trouble viewing the video of myself as well as the slides that we are sharing out. So we apologize for that. We've been trying to troubleshoot the issue, but we are so far unable to do so. So what we have done is we have sent out the PDF of this presentation out to all of you. So that should have been sent out through the chat just now. If you're not able to see or download that PDF, please do let us know, and then we will email that out as well. Please also note that this is being recorded, so you will get a recording of this webinar after our session tonight. Okay, so for those of us that are following on the PDF, we are on the slide of application requirements. So that's going to be page 12, now moving into page 13. Okay, so what are the requirements for applications to colleges? As we all know, we are very well aware of the A through G requirements. I'm sure as seniors and senior families, we've heard of the A through G minimum requirements over and over again, especially as you've scheduled your classes. Most of our students will be meeting these requirements along with their graduation high school requirements. So please take a moment to view and to see that by each subject area, you have fulfilled the year requirements for UC and CSU eligibility. In order to be a competitive candidate, however, and to be, especially for the UCs that are more selective, we do encourage you to take beyond what the minimum requirements are. So many of our students will have gone beyond the minimum into a recommended 3 to 4 years, for example, of history, as opposed to the 2, right? So you will find that many of our students have gone beyond the recommendation, beyond the required into the number of years recommended. So how do college admissions work? There's kind of 2 separate types of college admissions review and eligibility. So the first is what's called a holistic and comprehensive review. This review process is utilized by the UC campuses, as well as private schools and out-of-state campuses, especially those that are on the common application. What this means, the holistic review means that they are looking at your grades, but they are also looking at you as a holistic individual, which means any other information that you are providing through the application, such as testing, which we'll cover in a few slides down. They are also looking for extracurricular involvement. What have you been involved in outside of the classroom and outside of the school setting? So they're wanting to see, what have you done with your time? What are you passionate in? What are the things that make you tick, that make you excited, and that you've poured your energy into as a high school student that you might possibly continue into college? They're going to be also looking at some personal statements, essays, supplemental questions that they may ask on the application. And these are written responses to help gain a sense of who you are. The UCs will have 8 prompts, for example, and they will require you to answer 4 of those personal insight questions. And through your answers to those questions, the goal really is to build a context to your application, right? The context to what your academic achievements look like. What have you done outside of the school day while also achieving such a great GPA, and so forth. Now, some schools will also require letters of recommendation from a counselor or a teacher. And so for those requirements, you're really going to have to check for each college separately to see what those requirements are. And just a note here, the UC campuses do not require any letters of recommendation. They won't take any letters of recommendation. And the only exception to this is if UC Berkeley sends you an invitation to submit a letter of recommendation, it will be an optional supplement that you can submit, but you must be invited first, right? So there's no letters of recommendation that you're attaching to the application when you're first submitting. Now, on the Common App, each college on the Common App will show you which schools will require what kinds of letters of recommendation. So you want to make sure that you follow those. The Cal State universities and some out-of-state schools will strictly go based off of what's called an academic or eligibility index. And this is where so the Cal State application will not ask for essays. They don't ask you to fill out extracurricular involvement. So there's none of that. They're really going off of your academic credentials and any other indexes that they can utilize for your application review, such as standardized tests if those schools are test optional or taking test scores. And they will also be looking at maybe the number of years that you've done in your A through G classes, the rigor of your classes, as well as course sequencing. So for the Cal State universities, again, and the UCs, there is no testing required. They're completely test-free universities. And I will say that most schools have gone test optional with an exception of some highly selective schools who have brought testing back as a requirement. So again, we will cover testing in a few slides, but you will need to check those testing requirements each by college campus. Okay, so what are the timelines to these applications? The UC application and the common application is open now. They were open on August 1st, and the submission period for the UCs is going to be from October 1st all the way up until November 30th. And I will say that for this year, because of the Thanksgiving holiday and where that's situated, they have extended their deadline to December 2nd. So that's for all of the UC campuses. Although we would like to stick to the November 30th deadline, the UC website is known to crash notoriously every year with all tens of thousands of California students trying to submit on the same day. So if you can get it in early, it's always best to not risk it until the last minute. So that is the submission period. We have linked all of the application websites for you, but I'm just going to put a plug in for the UC's, Cal State's, and the California Community College applications really should be launched through californiacolleges.edu. I'll come back to this and show you what that website is. But every single Capo student has an account on California Colleges. It has all of their transcript and coursework information in their account, and that coursework is going to import automatically into your UC, Cal State, and community college accounts. So in order for you to have that academic coursework import automatically, you're going to have to launch your application through your California Colleges account. Okay, the Cal State application doesn't open for another month or so, so they will be opening on October 1st, and same submission period from October 1st until November 30th. And the privates and out of states really check for each college, but there's a whole list of colleges that are utilizing the Common App, so you can fill out the one application, submit it to multiple private schools and out-of-state schools who are utilizing the Common application. And there's over 1,000 colleges on there. So most likely, the college that you're applying to will probably be utilizing the Common App. That one is live now, and you can go ahead and create your account on there. And the submission period really depends on the school and on the application type. So you can, if you're applying early action or early decision to any of these schools, they will have an earlier November deadline as opposed to the regular deadline for some of these schools that are going into January. So please check for all of that separately. And then for the community college applications, those will typically also open in October with a rolling admissions deadline, meaning that there's no hard deadline for these schools. There are some deadlines if you want to be eligible for the Promise program. Those are in the spring semester. So you still have some time for the community college applications if you're thinking Saddleback, IVC, OCC, or any of those. Okay, just to briefly do a transcript review, as all of you log into Aries, you're probably going to reference Aries to enter in your coursework properly, to get your GPA in order to report that properly on your applications. And we know it can get confusing because there's 6 different GPAs that you can use. So just to point out a couple of those, when a school is asking for your total or your cumulative GPA, you are going to be using the total GPA, and you can use the weighted version or the non-weighted version. So the two numbers are next to each other. The first is weighted, the second is unweighted. Okay, and then if you are wanting to know what your UC or Cal State GPA is, that's going to be your 10th through 12th GPA. And again, the first number is weighted, the second number is unweighted. You can also view your UC and Cal State GPA in your California Colleges account, so those should match as well. Now, when you're reporting your coursework, any class that was an A through G class is categorized as a CP, college prep. So it'll have a P in that college prep column. So any class that's marked as a P, you can know that you've gotten A through G credit for that. And then on the Common App only, if a course does not have a P next to them, then you can mark down that class was a regular or standard class. If you have any questions on how to report your academic classes in your applications, please come see a futurology counselor on your campus. But that's the cool thing about the California Colleges account is that that's going to be imported automatically if you are connecting and launching through California Colleges. The only application where you will have to manually enter your coursework is going to be on the Common application. Okay, so building a college list. Hopefully many of you already know or have an idea about where you want to apply, where you're going to be submitting in the next few months. And hopefully some of you have already had the chance to visit some college campuses, especially those that are nearby. But just to kind of talk about fit factors, right, in choosing a college, there are different factors. Apart from matching your academic credentials, we want to make sure that this is going to be your home for the next 4 years, right? And so there's a lot that goes into a home and picking your next home for the next 4 years, including social aspects, financial aspects, as well as academic aspects, right? So some factors to consider under social, obviously location is a big one. We know that so many of you still love SoCal. You want to stay in SoCal, and West Coast is the best coast. But there are lots of options all throughout the US. So really take a look at location. We want you to think about size, right? Did you love your high school experience and the size of your high school? Or do you want to be on a large public campus, public university where you can attend some football games on the weekends and, go to, have sororities and fraternities that you can join, right? So these are important social questions to ask, like, are you a sports person? Do you want to play athletics? Do you want to play intramural sports? What is the commute going to look like? Do you want to be living on campus? And what other clubs or organizations are really vital for you to thrive on that campus, right? So those are some questions that are really worth asking. As far as finances, we know that this is also a costly decision, right? College does cost money, and so we won't know the exact price tag of that school until after you fill out your FAFSA, and your schools will come back to you with a financial aid award package. And so in that financial aid award in the spring semester, you're basically going to see how much the school costs and what costs are going to be covered through grants, through loans, through scholarships, and then out-of-pocket costs. So that package award will come in the spring semester. And until then, we really don't have a firm idea about how much it's going to cost. We can know what the general sticker price is, but we do know that lots of our students get aid. So every school's campus website is required by law to have a net price calculator on their college's website. So if you just Google any one of the colleges or universities and then you add in net price calculator at the end of that, that should take you to a net price calculator where you can answer some quick questions, and then they'll shoot back an estimated cost of attendance for you. Okay. We want you to be careful with early decision, because remember that if you apply early decision anywhere, that is a binding agreement. Early decision is only offered at some private schools. So this does not apply to UCs, Cal States, or community colleges. There's no such thing as an early deadline for the UCs, Cal States, and community colleges. Just one deadline, right? But some private schools will offer something called early decision, where you can apply early to find out early, but once you are admitted, then that is a binding decision. So make sure you have an estimate of how much it might cost your family if you were to attend that school, if you're going to be applying ED. Remember that, good grades can always result in merit scholarships. So you want to consider the different types of aid, and you will be considered for all of these as you fill out your FAFSA once that becomes available. And last but not least, academics are important, right? Because you're going to be spending the next 4 years obtaining a bachelor's degree or a 2 years associate's degree in something, right? It's going to be a major or a program that you should be interested in. So make sure that whatever college you're applying to is actually offering that major that you are applying into, right? Think about faculty. Are there research opportunities, internship opportunities at that school? What are the supports that they have? And look at their graduation rates, their retention rates, right? How many students are actually coming back after their first year to that school? What does their job placement look like? Are those students thriving after graduation? Right. So think about all of these as fit factors when you're considering what college to apply to. And just note that when you're applying to college, you really don't have to be decided on a lot of things. Like think about this as a shopping period, right? So when you're submitting an application, you're putting these colleges into your shopping cart. You're not checking out until the spring semester when those results come back and the financial aid awards come back. So try and apply as broadly as possible. Next slide, please. Okay, credential matching. So credential matching is important because we want to make sure that you have some results, come spring semester. And if you've applied to 10 schools, we want to make sure that you don't come back where you're denied to all 10 schools, right? And in order to do that, in order to really have a good pool of colleges to choose from, we want to make sure that you are applying broadly and matching your academic credentials to the admitted student profiles of that school, right? And so how we do that is we divide up the categories into likely schools that you would get into, some target schools that you are falling well within their averages, and then you've got your reach schools, where these are the schools that are very highly selective because maybe their acceptance rates are just generally it's a very low acceptance rate, or you are falling kind of on the lower end or below average of those students who are being accepted into those schools, right? So if your list is very reach heavy, then we would really highly advise that you add in some likely and target schools that you're going to be happy with, if you were to attend those schools, right? Because having a reach heavy list will yield far less results. And much of that is really because of just the space available at some of these schools as well as the general acceptance rates. Okay, so if you are looking at colleges that have a 70% or higher acceptance rate, they're really great schools. They're likely that you're going to be getting in. And every school will publish what their range is, right? Their range of admitted student profiles. And if you're falling well above that range, and then this school has a high acceptance rate, those are going to be your likely schools and what we also call safety schools. Target schools are the schools that we really don't know, right? It's a toss-up. We are falling within their averages, but we just don't know whether we'll get in or not, depending on also their acceptance rates, really around the 40 to 70%. So there's like a half and half chance that even if I'm within that average, whether I'll get in or not, right? So those are the different types of categories, and we really want you to have a handful in each of those categories, which leads us into our next slide of some takeaways, right? So how many schools should I be applying to? There's no right answer to that. There's no hard, this is your cutoff, right? We've had students apply to way too many schools that, might not be necessary. But also we want you to have a list that you feel good about. And typically this consists of about 12 schools or so. We want you to have a few reach. Most of your schools should be in that target range. And then we do want you to have some safety in your back pocket. So some likely schools would be great to have on your list. Again, we want you to consider all of the different fit factors. We know that sometimes we're just kind of caught up in that name brand of the school. So, oh yeah, I've heard of that school, or we know of UCLA, we know UC Irvine just because they're so close to us. They have a great reputation, but really there's lots of schools all throughout the US that are very reputable. And they are pumping out fabulous alumni who are doing amazing things, right? So really think broadly, think open, and consider all of the different factors and where you might be able to find schools that meet those needs for you. Lastly, I know I really hammered this on the head, but California colleges .edu will be your best friend this year. If you have not logged into this, please log into this. There is an app for this on your Clever account. So all students, if you log into Clever and you go to college readiness, this is going to be that first tile icon. It's californiacolleges.edu. It's going to log you straight in with your Capo-Stu account. There's lots of things you can do on here. The main thing you're going to do this year as seniors is you're going to launch all of your California college applications from this website so that all of your transcript information gets accurately imported into your applications, okay? That way you're not sitting there manually inputting English 1, Algebra 1, biology A and B. You're not having to do that because this is going to import everything over. So all UCs, all Cal States, and all community college applications should be launched through here. You can also do a college search tool. So one of the things I really love about California colleges, we just talked about credential matching, is there's a filter on the left-hand side that of filtering by selectivity, so acceptance rates. So let's say, you know, you have a school list that's reach heavy and you're like, I really need some safety schools, but I don't know any, right? Then there's a filter you can add of the acceptance rates at some of these schools so that it'll yield results of schools that have maybe 70% or above acceptance rates. And that way you can add in some more likely schools or target schools into your list and do your search that way. Also, there's other criteria on that left-hand column that you can fit in to help determine social factors as well as academic factors, location, and all of that as well. So this really is going to be helpful for college searching. Career searching is also amazing. So you can look for a career and look backwards, right? So if I want to pursue a certain career, what do I need to major in? It'll list out all of the majors, and then it'll work that backwards into viewing colleges that offer those majors at their school. So it's an amazing platform. Please utilize it and please launch all of your California applications from here. I also talked about testing, which we're going to be going into, and so I'm going to be handing it off over to Miss Luna, who will be covering the testing updates for you this year.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Miss Luna. I'm the college counselor at San Juan Hills. Thank you for being patient with us as we launch our Microsoft webinar. We know we've used Zoom in the past, so thank you for bearing with us. Please do continue to utilize the chat for questions, and as you notice, we'll be replying to those as we go, but we will have time at the end to discuss further if you have any questions or maybe we missed it in the chat. So testing update, we know that this presentation is a little content heavy because there's so much to do, but the hope is just to give you an overview so that you are as prepared as possible come for senior year. And so one of those things that kind of seems confusing or over the years, it's not as straightforward as testing. As a reminder, the UCs and Cal States, all 9 campuses and 23 campuses for the Cal States do not require the SAT or ACT. That means that they are not going to include that as part of the admissions process. They don't even get to see a score. There's nowhere in the application for you to include an SAT or ACT score. You're welcome to submit one for placement purposes if you'd like. But again, it is not a requirement anymore for the UCs and Cal States. For our private or out-of-state schools, testing policies do vary. There is a really nice website that filters through test blind and test optional schools. And so it's called fairtest.org and it's linked. And as a reminder, once you get the presentation, anything that has any website is linked for you. If you just press it, it'll take you directly. Again, it's fairtest.org. And so test optional means students can choose to send their test scores, and then test blind means students will not consider test scores for admissions, right? So that's our public schools here in California. And then if it's a test required, then of course students must submit a test score as part of the admission process. Okay, so that's testing update. We know it's been confusing, but just to clarify, this is the update regarding SAT and ACT moving forward for this graduating class. And really quick, we want to mention letters of recommendation. We love that our students are back on campus. You probably have seen your school counselor, your college counselor already, at least once since registration happened. So we do want to remind you the importance of letters of recommendation. Letters of recommendation are not part of the application process for UCs or Cal States, meaning you don't have to, if you're applying to a UC or Cal State, you don't have to go to your counselor, hey, Ms. Luna, I'm applying to Cal State Long Beach, I need a letter of recommendation. They do not take letters of recommendation, so no need to worry about that. But the private out-of-state campuses, they do vary per campus. So if you are using the Common App, right, which most of you will be using for private or out-of-state colleges, there's going to be a section on there where you can include your recommender. So it's important to have a letter of recommendation because it just allows someone like your counselor, your teachers, our coaches to speak on your behalf and provide just really things that make you a student beyond your GPA, beyond the A that you got in chemistry, right? What did you do? How did you excel? How are you with other students, right? This allows the universities to get to know you and kind of get a glimpse of you or about you besides your academic profile. And so with letters, we know each of our campuses work a little bit differently. What's not different, though, is to ask your recommenders ahead of time. Okay, I will say that again. Please give your recommenders enough time, typically 3 to 4 weeks, right? So if you're asking for your counselor to write a letter of recommendation, you don't want to ask if the deadline is next week, right? It's going to be really hard for them to do that because keep in mind, they're also writing letters for all other students, right? For various purposes, not just colleges. They're probably also writing for scholarships, right? So make sure that you're checking with your guidance office to ensure their process. For instance, at San Juan Hills, if you go to the guidance website, it'll say letter recommendation packet. You fill out a Google form and then you connect with your counselor, right? That's just for San Juan Hills. So please be sure to check with your campus what their process is for letters of recommendation. Also check with your teachers because they want to know more about you beyond the grade that you got in their English 3 class or how you excelled in physics, right? Something called like a brag sheet or a resume will be helpful for them so they can speak on your behalf and also just the things that you've done outside of school that they may not know about. So the more information you can provide to them and the more time you allow, the best letter you can get, right? It'll be very challenging to only say, hey, I'm part of the tennis team and I took these classes. That's going to be difficult for a writer, a recommender to speak on that. So please make sure you're mindful of that and that you ask with enough time in the Common App. So if we go to the next slide, this is only for Common App, only for those that you're applying for out-of-state or private schools. You'll notice when you log in, if you have not created your Common App profile yet, please do so. It's time. It's the time, right? It's the season to do that. And we know that the private schools have varying deadlines, and you want to do that as soon as possible. So if you look at the screen here, you'll see it'll have your profile. For instance, the students applying to Chapman, and then you'll go to recommendation in FERPA. And then if you click again, the second image will show you that FERPA, it's basically you waive your rights so that you're not able to see what the recommender wrote. And so you're trusting that your counselors, your teachers are writing great things about you because you've given them enough time, you've given them a brag sheet, or you've gone through their process. And so again, this just allows for them to write a magnificent letter and that you can be a star in the eyes of the admission readers. But you do want to make sure you click the correct person. Make sure you double check their email. Something to note is what you see on your end for the Common App is not necessarily what the counselor will see. So they will see your information, but they'll see it for many students. So please, as much as you can, talk to these recommenders in person. Make sure you know their process to do that. Okay. Now, we're switching gears a little bit. The other hot topic every year are college essays, right? I was not an English major, and so this was very challenging when I went through college application process, but we know it's just part of it. It's part of what we got to do. And so we want to, again, equip you as best as possible. So when it comes to college essays, for the Common App, there are 7 prompts. You will choose 1 for our private out-of-state schools using the Common App. Right? You'll select 1. It's about 650 words. That's max, so you don't have to take up the whole space. And then some colleges will have a supplemental essay. So you just want to double check. And when we say double check, it's all in the profile. So it's all like, think of it like an Instagram account. You know where everything is. That's exactly how Common App will work. You'll know where everything is, right? The recommenders, your grades, where you have to put the essay, right? So it's not something you have to keep searching for. It's just all in the application. So Common App, it is 7 prompts. You choose 1 plus supplemental. So double check the supplemental essays for the colleges. Now for UCs and UCs only, there's something called the personal insight questions, or PIQs for short. Students can answer 4 of them, need to answer 4 of them out of 8. Please, please, if you don't get anything else from my section of the presentation, is this. It does not matter which response you choose, not one is better than the other. So we have many students say, well, should I choose number 2 versus number 8? It does not matter. As long as you answer the question, as long as you're talking about yourself, you keep it simple, but speak about your abilities, your leadership, your challenges. That's what the readers want to know. So any 4 that you choose will be correct, right? As long as we do it well, you want to make sure that you go straight to the point. These are quick responses, only 350 words compared to like a Common App essay that's 650, right? So our UC PIQs are just more direct, straight to the point. We'll have at all of our school sites, we have essay workshops. You can also work with your college futurology counselor to make an appointment to review college essays, right? So this is just one of those things that's not always fun. It can be fun, right? If you receive the feedback and you do it with enough time. So do yourself a favor and start early, even if it's just jotting down a few bullet points. So it's important because it can make up to 20% of the review. So that's a pretty good amount in the college application process. So take these seriously, but also have fun with it. You just want to let them know who you are. Okay. And so admissions readers, right? They're just people. They work for these high-end universities. All universities have their own process, but what they're looking for is who you are outside of the classroom, right? That's the simplest way I can tell students, or I tell students, is who are you? If I were to just ask you today, what do you enjoy? What do you like to do? Tell me about yourself, right? It sounds a little bit difficult when you think about it. Like, yes, who am I on this earth? And so it's kind of that opportunity for you to say in these essays, this is who I am, and these are the things that make up who I am and how hard I have worked. Because again, they don't get to see that other than your academic profile and your extracurricular activities. So how can you, as a student, what do you bring to this university? That's key. They want to know, what do you bring to our university that will make it better, that will make it more school spirit, that will advance the chemistry program, that will advance our humanities program, and so on. So these are the things that admissions readers are looking for, and you want to make sure that it's something that's not already in your application. So if your application shows that you've taken 8 AP classes, you don't need to say I took 8 AP classes, because your academic profile already shows that. Instead, you want to say I took a challenging coursework, but this is how I excelled, right? So it's a different side to the student and to the stories as well. Somebody mentioned, talked about financial aid earlier. So if you have older students or just friends, you know that last year was the first year that the financial aid application changed completely. And it was quite a nightmare, I think, for a lot of families, unfortunately. And we did the best we could with the information we were getting with the Department of Ed, right? And so moving forward, when it comes to financial aid, you must apply to financial aid. It's one of those things we don't know how much you will qualify for until you apply. And so financial aid is just one word that encompasses so many things. So financial aid, you can either go through the federal application for student aid, which is the FAFSA for short, or the California Dream Act for students who are undocumented. But if you are a U.S. resident or citizen, then you can do the FAFSA application. And so by doing the FAFSA application, you may be eligible for California grants. You can also be eligible for federal grants and then middle class scholarships, right? And then on top of that, be eligible for university grants as well. So that's why financial aid is so important. We know it's a personal choice, though, as a family. We have plenty of support on our campuses, right? We encourage all students to apply this year. It should be a quick FAFSA, no more than 30 to 45 minutes. It's all online. And if you're worried about whether you're doing it correctly, maybe you're not sure if this is the right website, just connect with your Futurology college counselor and we'll guide you. We'll provide workshops, the information. We'll have a webinar about it, right? We know that it's more personalized though. So please do consider, please apply for financial aid because you can maximize all your options. It's not just federal grants that you may be eligible for. It's so much more than that. So it's just one application that encompasses so many things. Okay, now we're going to move on to our upcoming events.
Okay, so as thank you so much again for being here. I know we shared a lot of information, but just so you know, this is not the only. This is just the start of how we will support your students. We have upcoming events and resources throughout the school year. So as you can see, our next webinars that we're going to have is on September 18th. It's the Mapping Your Future Strategies for College and Career Planning. And I encourage you, if you're not really sure, how to use CCI, if you're wanting to see how do I build a college list, this is going to be the webinar for you. So we would love for you to join us on that night. It's the same thing, just like tonight. It's on Teams. It's a free webinar, and it's at 5:30. Also, at the end of September, we're going to have our college fair, and we already have over 100 colleges that are signed up to come to our college fair. We're going to have this year. We're going to have some breakout sessions. We're going to talk a little bit. I noticed in the chat we were talking about WUI, so we're going to talk about WUI. We're going to talk about if you want to go to a UC or CSU, what does the admissions process look like? It's going to be at San Juan Hills High School, and the QR codes are all here. And as they mentioned earlier, we're going to be sharing this with you, so you have the links to all of these events. And also, we will go more in depth later on in October with college essays, right? So we want to go over. We want to make sure that your student feels strong in writing their college essays, that they know that we are here to guide them through that, to edit their essay if need be. And we'll go over do's and don'ts in our college essays webinar in October. So lots of really fun, exciting things later on this semester. We also have, again, just to reiterate, our on-campus supports. We provide those one-on-one appointments with all of our students. We are at each school, it's called something different, but we have workshops during tutorial. Here at San Clemente, it is currently called Tide Time. So we are going to be working with our students and editing essays and all of this throughout the fall. We will also have school-wide events later on in the fall as well, parent nights where we go over financial aid, we go over scholarships, and anything else that you all are going to need support with. So just know that we are here for you. And if you missed tonight, you can always go back and check out our YouTube channel. There are so many different topics that you can really delve into, career paths and interviews and resumes and all of this. So please take a look. We do all of this for you. They're all free resources provided to you through Capital Unified. So as we're ending here, I just wanted to provide a couple other links for scholarship. We have some trustworthy sites that we use through CCGI. So you can look through the scholarship searches that we use. And also the links here for the do's and don'ts for Common App and the UC personal insight questions. And again, for California colleges, you have a link there. We're going to stay behind a few minutes just for any, last questions. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And again, I know we talked really fast. We had a lot of information, but you can always make an appointment with one of us on any given night. One of us during the week will work until 5 o'clock. So if you need a late appointment, we're also here for that. Please take a moment to scan the QR code at the end here and take our survey. And again, we're gonna stay behind here to answer any last questions. But yes, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will email the recording of tonight's presentation to the whatever email you use to register for the webinar tonight. That's the email that will receive the recording. And again, you can always check back to our YouTube channel. We'll have these as well. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're really glad this was helpful. Just checking in the chat.
And just a note, I think we might have a solution for those of you who logged in on your phones or iPads. Please make sure in your settings for Teams that the local network toggle is turned on. If you can try that and see if you could see us again, we'll have webinars every month. So we want to make sure that you're able to see us on your phones. So try that. We'll stay on if you want to try it right now. Try it for our next webinar, and we will get all of these technical issues sorted out for the future. So, thank you so much.
Yes, this is also a great question. It is misleading, but California Colleges is also for you to research and look at colleges all across the U.S. So no, it is not just for California colleges and not just for UCs and Cal States. Okay. You do not have to use the California Colleges site to apply to colleges. We just encourage you to use it because it auto-populates all of the classes. Essentially what's on your transcript auto-populates into the application. So it's just a little bit more of a seamless process, and this is why we encourage our students to use California colleges.
So a note on registering for a future webinar, especially the California Colleges, which is the CCGI. If you click on our website, I just put in the chat too, I replied to somebody that attended. You'll click on the flyers, and then once you open up the flyers, it has a QR code. I know it can be a little confusing, but then when you click on the QR code, it will send you to where to register for the link. And that's true for all of our webinars. So just make sure that, I'm glad it worked. So yeah, if you ever have trouble with just registering or getting the information, work with your futurology counselor and we'll be definitely more than happy to give you the link.
We'll stay behind for any other additional questions.
Okay, so I see a question about only completing 2 years of world language, but 4 years of math and 3 years of science. You were still considered because you meet the minimum requirement, which is 2 years of a world language. So as long as you are meeting the minimum, right, it's recommended 3 or 4, but all you need is the minimum to be eligible to apply to the universities. You need the minimum of 2.5 for Cal States and 3.0 for UC. So as long as you have the minimum requirements, minimum A through G, they will still consider you. Great question.
There's a question about finding Cal Poly slow. Usually it's because we're using abbreviations. So make sure you're typing in San Luis Obispo, and if you do that, you'll be able to find out that. But Cal Poly is short for California Polytechnic San Luis Obispo. So make sure you're just typing that out, and it should be on there. And for the question regarding the campus tours, it really is by each college. They will offer that, and typically what's on their admissions website are going to be the general tours. So if I haven't seen any that are specific by department or area of focus. So you can do your research in that website under that department, but we also have a college fair coming up. So if you want to come and speak to the representative, they might have some more information about some different tours that you can find on their campus as well. So highly recommend. Right now we have over 100 colleges who are signed up to come. So please come to that and we'll see you at the fair.
Okay, so question about if you were at a different district and how you can upload your information to California colleges. So California colleges will link to whatever's on ARI. We know though that if you're coming from a different school and you haven't been at the same one for the 4 years, it can be a little bit challenging. But what you can do is just like every other year, you can manually include them. So you include the school that you're coming from. That way, when you are reporting your grades, so we're just doing it one by one instead of like a mass import. But if you have problems with that or you're not quite sure if it's correct, that's when you would make an appointment with the college counselor, Futurology, so that they can double check that the coursework is correct.
Thank you so much to all of you for joining us. Is there any other questions? We're still. And the FAFSA, I noticed there's another question about FAFSA. FAFSA is due, as far as we know, March 2nd. That could change. We will update you as soon as we know anything.
Question about like guaranteed requirements to transfer from a junior college or community colleges. Depends on where you're trying to transfer from. Really, that will be a conversation with the community college counselor that you attend, so that you can be sure you're on track and you meet the upper division units. If you're thinking about a UC school, that's where you want to transfer. You can do something like the TAG program. Out of the 9 universities, only 6 of them offer that. So there are ways to just kind of simplify that transfer process. But all community colleges offer a pathway to transfer. It doesn't even have to be a specialized program. It would just be general transferring from your community college to a 4-year university. But again, that conversation will really, we can have that conversation now, but then you'll get all the details once you're at the community college, so that they can track that you have the correct grades and the correct units to be able to transfer.
Great questions. Now, if you have any further questions, please reach out to your Futurology counselor. And again, we'll send you the recording of our presentation tonight. And if there isn't any other questions, what is the minimum weighted GPA?
Yeah, for the CSUs, the minimum requirement is going to be a 2.5. And then for the UCs, the minimum weighted is a 3.0. And again, that is the minimum. And in order to be a more competitive candidate in the pool for some of the ones that are a little bit more selective, you're going to want to have beyond the minimum requirements in both the A through Gs as well as that GPA requirement. As far as the question about the 4 years of foreign language compared to the 3, this is not going to be the point that tips your application over into accepted versus denied. So if you have 3 years of a language, you have gone beyond the 2-year minimum already. If you have 4, is it better? Of course it is, because it's an additional year of an A through G subject requirement. However, if you're not able to fit that into your schedule, or you're a senior now, so if you're not able to do that and your application is due November 30th, then really I wouldn't sweat it. It's not going to be the tipping factor for your application. So if you have further questions about your situation particularly, please make an appointment with your college counselor. We'd be happy to review your transcript together and then look at some other factors as we do some academic credential matching for you. And as far as the transcripts go, so for UCs, Cal States, and community colleges, you do not need to send official transcripts until after you're admitted. So your transcript importing automatically through California colleges will suffice for the application. On the common application or for some privates and out-of-state schools, they will ask you to send a transcript over with the application. So either your counselor will do that if they're asking your counselor to send a school report, or if you can upload and do that, or they may ask you to send it through parchment. So you really need to read those instructions for each of those colleges individually, and they'll tell you what the instructions are to send over the transcripts.
Thank you so much. If there isn't any other questions, hope you all have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.